I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.
Welcome to Build an Iconic Life podcast. I'm your host, Chris Whitehead, and this podcast is dedicated to help you build a life with zero regrets by focusing on how you have everything you need to stand up, stand out, and live life on your terms. Let's dive right in. Well, there's two things. Either everybody thinks that they can do what you're doing, or they can go find that person for $4.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had limited experience, and I found it to be exceptionally painful.
Yeah.
To work with people. Number one, different time zones.
Sure.
Number two, the language barrier. Even if you like set it up and show them the example of what you like, finding the right person is not an easy thing.
Sure.
But that allure of like, oh, I can go find somebody for less than $8 an hour.
Yeah.
It's not as easy. And I mean, your whole book was about customer service, right? It's after, it's what happens after the sale that creates lifetime value. So it's something you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
So what other kind of groups are the right kind of groups to?
Right now, for me, I'm actually taking a step back, and the rest of this year and the upcoming year, or in the next year, I don't know where I'm actually. I mean, I know physically I'll be in this area, but like, I don't know if I'm going to be. I'll be in some type of group, but I'm actually going to take all the shit now that I've learned in these groups over the last couple of years and actually apply it. So, I mean, I've been doing like a little bit here and there, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to be focusing more on taking my organization and growing that. While before it was like group, do a little bit of business here and there, right? Now it's going to be the other way where I'm taking it. And then,
so you also own a payment processing company. How long have you had that?
20 years, almost.
20 years. Yeah. So that makes sense to join a whole bunch of groups because it's an easy sell.
Right.
Everybody needs it.
Right.
You're getting ready to sell that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yes. I've been trying to sell it for years.
And like, I remember when I first met you, you showed some old commercials. So, I mean, you've been hustling for a long time.
Yeah.
And you were doing it well before it was popular.
Right.
You're kind of like me, like in 2009.
Into a cell phone.
Hey man, I've got videos of me on YouTube that I leave them up there just to remind me how far I've actually come. Yeah. Because it used to take me 4 hours to do a 4-minute video. Yeah. And I look like Max Headroom, like just all the cuts in and out.
Yeah.
So you're stepping into really developing this VA company. It's completely virtual. Tell me, like, and we're recording now.
Okay.
But tell me what it looks like to go through a process with you. Who's the ideal client? Who can you help the most? Because one of the reasons I wanted to interview with you is because you are like a legit business guy. Like, you don't just sell them and run. Right. You care. Yeah. Right. That's how you do business for a long time, 20 plus years.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't say that in front of me anymore. It's making my palms sweat because I should have chosen that myself. No, I'm just kidding. But continuing to grow a company with the bumps, and at the same time taking extreme care of your people, which I know you do. And at the same time, you're looking for a perfect fit. A one and done, or work with me 1 year. It's like, it's not worth the effort, really. So who is your ideal client? What's the process that you take them through?
So the ideal client is very similar to what I did in the payments business, where you can go onesie twosie and it's hard, and you can get where you're going there, but it's a lot slower. Or I take the partnerships approach, to where I will approach national organizations, national franchises, Fortune 500 companies, things like that, and, give them the value proposition. We come in, here's what I can offer. Here's how I can assist your current people. Because a lot of times they think that you're coming in and trying to replace departments, or they think you're going to come in and build a call center, none of which I do. But, you come in, you show the value as to how, what it would look like to work with us, and, the ROI that you can get almost immediately. And then instead of setting up, one account here, right? It'll take me a year longer, but I'll get into a massive company with, 500 locations, and then be able to be their vendor of choice. So when somebody comes and asks for that, or when they get a new franchise that buys in or a new client or whatever, they call us and we set them up. It's a lot easier.
And so just so that everybody knows, like, what are you setting up? Like, what is the value proposition?
So we do the back office support for the most part. So you're looking at operations managers, project managers, high level executive assistants, get into video editing and things like that. But we put them there as a means to enhance the people that they currently have. So here's the example I give. If you are working most people spend less than 40% of their time doing what they were actually hired to fucking do. Right. And that's, so then the other 60%, the other 60% of their time, they're doing bullshit. And,
just menial tasks
just to get that job done. But what if you had somebody that could, that can take that 40% and bump it to 80, right? Now you're delegating 20% of the stuff that you really shouldn't be doing in the first place. So that way you can focus on, focus on the stuff that you're actually being paid to do.
And the other part of the value proposition is the employees that you bring in are high caliber, but the cost is a third to a quarter.
Oh yeah. Yeah. A third
of what they would have to pay if they hired them
on average.
And they don't have to deal with comp, liability,
Correct.
Vacation time, complaints. No,
Correct.
They just have somebody. Yeah. And dude, I mean, for somebody that's had a lot of employees over my career, it's like, oh, you deal with all that part.
Yeah.
And I just get the benefit of them working for me.
Yeah.
It's part of why we switched a few years ago to the subcontractor model in remodeling.
Right.
So I was tired of
W-2s are tough, man.
Yeah, just chasing people down and paying to retrain them again and again and again, and then losing them because they decide they can go off and do their own thing.
Sure.
And we did the same approach as you, and word gets out, like, we pay better than most people.
Yeah.
And because we pay better than most people, we get some of the best subcontractors, and it makes it easier. And it shows in the client experience over time.
Yeah, so we pay better, but then I also produce a lot of content. Everybody's in the Philippines we work for. So I produce a lot of content aimed at Filipino people to help them, to bring more awareness from Americans over there, right? So their holidays, their customs, their traditions, things like that. But then also a lot of people, now that VAs are more popular, virtual assistants are more popular, there's still a lot of exoticness around them, right? So we try to educate people on that. But now a lot of Filipino people want to get into the remote work and they don't know how. So we've got lots and lots of resources. I teach them how to interview. We teach them what to say, teach them about American culture, things like that. So that way they can, whether it is that they want to come and try to work for us, which is great. But if not, if they're not, they're not qualified yet, all right, let's give you some resources that you can then go out and use. So then that way, maybe you can come for us, work for us later. But if not, you're going to be better off for free, right, following our programs than you were if you were just trying to do it on your own.
How do you target that information to those people?
I just make videos on Facebook, man. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason. I think I have 5 or 6 with multiple million views. And, because of that, it's a great recruiting tool that people come through. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, and probably very few people are doing it.
Right.
So that makes you the albatross.
Yeah,
anyway.
We haven't figured out how to crack the American market yet.
Yeah.
I can't, I can't figure that one out. I can't get more than 300 views on one of my videos here. But if I make a video about 13th month over there, I'll get 4 million views. And
so when I first started marketing, like paying for advertising, I remember Lonnie and I were in business together and we were doing digital marketing, and I started getting all of these people to follow me, and I was beyond excited. And Lonnie comes up to me and goes, "Chris, press pause on paying that anymore." And I'm like, "Why, man? We have like 10,000 people that had just signed up."
Right.
He's like, "They're all Filipino.
Yeah.
They are hungry for growth in the Philippines." I believe that they are.
Sure.
And I believe that the opportunity, it's people like you that are mavericking that opportunity for it to be there for them, because I think a lot of people take advantage. Is that true?
They can. We'll have clients that come on, and we make it very clear in the beginning that this is not, we fire clients just like they fire us as well. So we have people that come in, and if we catch any, it's fine to be fair and firm firm is a thing, but we catch any disrespect or anything like that, or if we catch you or if one of our VAs is constantly coming back to us and saying this, hey, I'm being mistreated, or blah blah blah, we'll fire, and give you all your money back. It's something that we don't. Yeah, I don't like giving anybody's money back, but at the end of the day, if it's something that I would just rather cut ties, right? Because I want my people to feel respected, and if they can't be in a safe work environment, whether it's, look, some people are better than others, but then we've had a couple clients that are just nasty, and then you look at them as a person and you're like, I cannot look at you the same way as before, because now I understand how you treat people who work for you. And it's like somebody who talks shit to a waiter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's cringe,
yeah.
Right. And so, it's the same concept. So, and that has actually helped us a lot, because that word about that gets around too. So not only are we paying above market, we're giving benefits, we're doing all this cool stuff, but we also look out for our people.
You're protecting. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
You're the best asset that we have.
When, so you're 20 years as a business owner,
19.
Right? 19. Yeah. Why did you decide to become a business owner?
Couldn't keep a job. I'm a bad employee.
Me too.
I don't like being told what to do.
Me either.
So it's
I got mad that I had to ask when I could eat and when I could pee.
Yeah.
That made me very angry. I was their number one salesman in the Eastern region.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I'm gonna go grab lunch. And they're like, nah, you need to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm gonna go grab lunch.
Yeah.
Was it a rocky road at first?
I don't know. I've just never been one to take direction well.
No, I meant when you started, was it a rocky road?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I didn't make any money for a long time. It was one of the, you think you are. Whenever I was in my 20s, if I made enough to cover my rent, and go to dollar beer night or quarter beer night on Wednesdays, I'm totally fine with that. And then some months I couldn't make my rent, so I would go mow grass in the neighborhood just because I didn't want to move home to my parents' house. And I figured that was a sign of failure if you had to move home.
I get it.
So I was like, I'll stay out and I will mow grass if I have to. And I did. I missed a couple months rent every now and again, but had a cool landlord, and fortunately I'm in a position now that I can, we don't have to worry about that often anymore.
Yeah. So what were some of the aha moments for you as an entrepreneur, like the levels? Like what things did you not know that if you'd have known the day you started, you wouldn't have had the months of missed rent? Yeah. Well, and this is, a lot of it has been, it's been, I feel like I lived the same life over and over and over and over again for like 16, 17 years. And then I have gone through a massive, change in the last 2 or 3 years where things just now started to click, right? And I understand now that you can't do everything yourself, and perfect is never going to be perfect. And to build a team around you, you have to be able to. There needs to be expectations, but it can't be. People don't respond well to iron fists. Sure.
And I feel like I've always been respectful. I do get a little fiery at times, and I still do. But it's I would say it always comes from a place of love. But I've learned to just kind of relax a little bit recently. And that's how you can get winners around you. And unfortunately not everybody has, when you're coming up, I call it the valley, right? Like you're pretty successful, and you could be more if you had people, but you can't afford the good people yet because you still need to eat. And so it's just, that was like with credit card processing. The margins are so small on these accounts that you have to have 1 million accounts to do well. And so to attract a good salesperson, all right, like, hey, listen, I can either take a massive risk on you that is likely not going to pay off, or I could try to convince you that you're going to have to eat shit for the next 2 years.
Commission, because it's commission based only.
Yeah, or very small draw or whatever. You can get there eventually, maybe, right? Oh, by the way, it's really fucking hard, right? You're going to get your teeth kicked in 6 days a week, but stick in there, And so that's a tough business, and really the only way, what I found is it's hard to scale that from nothing. But when you're in that valley where you need help because you can't do it yourself, your relationships and everything like that are starting to suffer outside of work and even inside as well. That's where, looking elsewhere for talent and being able to find, but getting that assistant, whether it's here, whether it's local, or it's anything, to get a lot of that stuff off of your plate so that you can go focus on stuff that actually matters.
Is that what led you to building a VA company?
Yeah.
Is your own need?
I built out, I found an assistant. I was at a trade show or like a conference in Charleston, South Carolina. And there was a guy, I was still doing everything by myself. There was a guy there that was talking about them. I didn't quite understand, but I knew that I needed help on the back end because I was still selling. I was installing. I was handling customer service. I was everything. Phone rang. I was it. And so it got to the point where I was no longer selling. I was just maintenance. Yeah. And so I knew that I needed somebody to help me back end, but I couldn't afford anybody. And so I was at the show. He talked about it. He was too expensive for me, or so I thought at the time. So I was like, I will figure this out on my own. It took me 2 years. So I kind of wish I would have just, given him the money, but it actually turned out worked out well for me because I was able to take that knowledge and actually build another company out of it. But yeah, it was initially for me. So I got my own assistant, and then I built out my customer service team on the back end. And then that allowed me to just run basically.
You're in a position now where you teach other entrepreneurs. Sometimes you do breakout sessions.
Yeah.
You built up a really good rapport in the organizations that you pay to be a part of, but they actually respect you enough to listen. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making, and some of the biggest fallacies that a small business owner or a small entrepreneur looks at this group of people? Because we were talking about and I was like, Chris, when I met you, you were making more money than most people that were even in the highest level. It's like, but I don't know that I belong there. What do you think the mistakes are that most small business owners make when they look to successful people, when they're trying to get there? Because I'm sure there was a point in your career where you're like,
right,
I'm doing everything I know how to do.
Yeah.
And I still can't get there.
Right.
And you're saying the last 2 or 3 years, it's just, it's all starting to click.
Yeah.
What is it that got you up that mountain and then the click?
Distractions to get rid of them. The thing that really, this chaps my ass, man. And this has been more, like in the last year, I've just, when you start seeing something, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, so I got, somebody put a duck on my Jeep the other day, and I didn't know. I was like, oh, cool, little duck. So I put it on my dash, and somebody's like, oh, no, you got ducked. And I was like, I don't know what this means. I guess it's like some thing now, or if somebody likes your Jeep, they put it. So now I see them everywhere. And it's mainly teenage girls that are driving around with the Jeeps, and their whole dashes are filled with them. So I don't want to participate in this anymore. I thought it was cool. Now I'm like, oh, I don't know. So, but, when you get somebody who's I own 11 businesses, or I own 14 businesses, I'm like, bitch, you own nothing, right? You've got, it's if you are in a position where you can have other people running all those businesses, where you are literally an owner and not an operator, that's the thing that too many people that I see, and I was guilty of it as well, where I'm going to have this little hustle here and this little hustle and this, and then with your golden goose, you're not feeding it. And so when you are so distracted, like for instance, right now, I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I've got my payments company and I got my VA company, and I can never, they're never even. It's like, I'll start doing well over here, and then there's a fire that breaks out in this one. So I have to take all my attention over here. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what was I doing over here? And this is the one that I like doing. So I should be spending all my time there, but you're going back and forth does not work. And anybody who tells me otherwise, that they are, with the exception of you are not involved in your business anymore. You're picking up a check. You're not making any decisions, right? You're sitting on you're sitting on like a board, like, and you're advising. Yeah. But you're not involved you're not taking fucking customer calls. Right. So that is how that works. But I see so many younger people come in, even older, but we'll just call it experience wise, that I don't know anybody who's killing it. That is like, oh, I'm CEO of here and CEO of there. It doesn't fucking work. It's a lie that everybody's been sold. And it's the hustle culture that is, I don't know anybody who's doing really, really well that's still a hustler, right? You're now making more calculated moves and building relationships the right way, instead of trying to find that next buck here and there. That's the biggest thing that I've learned in the last 18 months.
And do you think when you start to eliminate those distractions, necessarily you become more productive, so you start making more income, and then if you're fortunate enough, you start having this awareness of like, hey, I need to slow down and build the right relationships?
Well, when you start learning how to delegate and getting a lot of the stuff off your plate, there's another lesson that I had to learn as well, and that's just because you have time doesn't mean you're not like you don't get to play golf every day. I mean, you do if you want, but when you, I call it audit, delegate, optimize. Take a look at your time, find out what, where you're spending the time that, like the 80-20, right? Pareto principle. Find out where you're spending time on that doesn't need to be. isolate those, delegate it. Well, now you got some free time. So now you got to fill it with more learning or something like that that's going to improve. Just because you have free time doesn't mean that you're just, you're not free, right? And you can be if you want, but you're never going to grow that way. So you need to make sure that you're always backfilling and following. It's a loop, essentially, that once, you're putting higher information here, and then you should be constantly looking for things to delegate and get off your plate. And that's how you grow companies. That's how you grow. That's how you grow organizations, and that's how ultimately you develop and build things that you can sell for multiples.
Yeah, you can work yourself out of a job.
Yes, 100%. Because I already know what I'm going to do next, but I know that I'm not going to follow the same mistake that I made with this. I will not focus on that until the revenue goal that I have has been reached, and I am 100% removed from the company. Meaning I don't make any more decisions. I'm not taking customer calls. I'll go to trade shows and do fun shit, speak if they ask me to.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no, it's, hey, I need help with this. Cool. Yeah, that's not me. I don't know. So
what do you think led to you becoming aware of the distractions that were in your life?
I don't know. Honestly, that's I think.
When I met you, you were still going on vacation 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting videos from you where you're walking on the beach, you're drinking, having a great time. Like you were living the life.
Yeah.
The life.
Yeah.
Right. Somehow you chose not to want to do that or be that anymore.
I still like my vacations, right? Don't get me wrong. I think where, with stopping drinking, I think that had a lot to do with it. I didn't realize that I would miss at least one day of work a week, at least. I did not realize that. Usually a day and a half, because I would get fucked up on the weekends. And I thought that was normal, to where Mondays were like, hey, I'm not working, right? It's because I'm going to be laying on the couch today. I'm going to eat Chick-fil-A. I'm going to shop on Amazon. I had all these vices. And because that was how I coped with whatever. But
the stress and
just, being in the relationships that I was in, and, a lot of other things going on. But Mondays, it was understood that Chris was not going to be in the office, right? Ever. And at first it started off with me giving an excuse or something like that to an employee. And I was like, I'm not even gonna lie to these guys. Like, no, I'm just not coming in today. I didn't tell them why, but I'm just not working today. You won't be able to get a hold of me. And then, so once I noticed that, and again, I thought this was normal before. And now,
what made you think it was normal?
That's what I've been doing, and I was successful.
Oh, okay.
So like, fuck it. These guys can do it. You see, like Jordan Belfort and stuff like that. Yeah. If they can do it, I can do it. That's not true, right? So, but the coming back to now, I have more time, and I'm clearer thinking, and I'm not. It's wild how foggy your brain can get, and how you can talk and trick yourself into thinking that things that are not normal whatsoever are completely normal, and that everybody else does it. And then you find out once you are able to remove yourself from it. But yeah, so I've had a lot more time to, I'm a lot more productive now, obviously, because, and then Friday, it's Friday, I'm not working today. So you got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to maybe get something done. It was working for me at the time, or so I thought. And then now that's whenever I was able to really turn the corner and then realize that, hey, I need to focus time where it should be. What are my goals? Right now I have clear goals. I know exactly where I want to be in 5 years. I know what I want. I know what my house is going to look like. I know what my family's going to look like, things like that. Before I was just
winging it.
Yeah, floating in the wind. But now I can say, okay, I have this goal. How are we going to get there? Let's reverse engineer it.
When a person takes that was probably my biggest mistake as an entrepreneur. I just decided I was going to push on the door until it opened.
Yeah.
Never realizing it was a pull door.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I work 80 or 100 hours a week and I go full bore and I try to do the best I can do, I'm going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of work and I didn't make any goals.
Sure. You didn't move.
No, I remember the first year that I decided I was going to do $1 million. I literally got a 2-foot by 3-foot green wall board and wrote in ink 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, drew the Statue of Liberty in the middle and planted it right by my bed so that every time I made my bed, it would fall on the floor. So tactile, I had to pick it up and put it back.
Okay.
That year we grossed $1 million. I
like that.
I just put it in my head. Right. You were talking about when you go somewhere, you see the ducks everywhere, right? It's called your reticular activating system in your unconscious mind. So me grabbing that board and dude, I could have done that 8 years ago
Mm-hmm.
if I had chosen to.
But she didn't. Yeah.
I didn't have enough self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I broke $1 million in sales. I was at 998 something.
Yeah.
And there was like 2 weeks left in the year.
Yeah.
And Chris, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been worthy of $1 million. I'm serious. And I went and sold like 1.2.
Yeah.
It's in the last 2 weeks. I sold a big edition. I was like, I did it.
Right.
Now that becomes the floor.
Right.
Not the ceiling.
Okay. Now what's next? Right.
Yeah.
My first year that I had 9982 one time. And I looked at at the end of the year and it was done. I had no more, I looked at my account and I was like, come on, just bump it. And he goes, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, just bump it. You didn't. I was like, no, you got to earn that next year. But I was like 18,000 short. I was like, but
it's
to
important,
see the
man.
number. And then the next year I did significantly more than
Well, yeah.
because I knew it could be done.
Yeah.
So
it's like is it Roger Bannister, the 4-minute mile? Like nobody ever could run a 4-minute mile. People said that you would die.
Right.
He does it, and then within 3 months,
everybody's doing it.
Like 14 or 15 other people, somebody gave people permission to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things for me. I'd never been a part of a dynamic organization like the one you're still a part of, right? Mm-hmm. And I was very blessed to be able to like be in the leadership of that and run that. Mm-hmm. But I'd never been around like-minded people before.
Right. But you're always big fish in a small pond.
Or a small fish in a small pond or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But and the thing, it's not how much money somebody makes. I mean, I respect it.
Sure. Yeah. Same way.
It's the thought process that it's like people will take information and go implement it. Whereas where I hung out, everybody just jabber-jawed and then did the same shit.
Assholes.
And I get exceptionally demotivated by that.
Mm-hmm.
And frustrated, and then I go hole up and I don't talk to anybody, and then I just do my thing, which is limiting me.
Right.
But when you start getting around people that go, yeah, I'll take that risk.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, we can travel here together. Yeah, well, it's like, oh, you actually mean it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know, I had zero doubt you were going to show up today.
Yeah.
Did you have any doubt that I was going to be at?
No.
Right.
No.
When you meet the right kind of people and they give you their word, it's like their word is their bond. That's how I grew up, thinking that's how the world is. I've since learned that the world is not at all like that.
Not like that at all.
But we can certainly find people that can honor their word, that want to grow, that want to be better. Several years ago, I got a DUI. I think I'm still 3 years away from being able to go to Canada, which sucks. Because apparently that's a felony.
Really?
Yeah. And I really want to go see Niagara Falls, dude. We're really close.
Yeah.
And I'm not proud of the DUI, but instead of taking it on the chin and justifying my behavior, when I went to the class, which I was in there with people that I don't relate to at all, I learned two things. Number one, some of these people, this was second and third offense, and they're never getting a vehicle back.
Right.
They're so far into the system.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I did is I took that class so friggin' serious, dude. I answered every question. I was the top student. I mean, it wasn't hard to be the top student, but I took it real.
Sure.
Because I had to do it on Saturdays. They also took my vehicle away for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. I even had this office. Dude, I didn't Uber here. I would ride my bike.
Your bike?
Yeah. I'm going to get fit.
Yeah.
I'm going to quit this drinking shit. I'm going to this is not, and by the way, that was a $500,000 mistake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When I added it all up.
Yeah.
Not pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Also brought in an employee to do sales because I wasn't going to be the contractor that his wife's driving him to jail. Like, oh.
Right.
Yeah, he sold at cost. He sold $1.4 million in a month. And I thought, you're blessing me anyway. And I come to realize, no, we're about 500K in the hole.
Right.
But learning to straighten myself up, learning to be around people that aren't going to judge me because they've made mistakes, and learning that those same people, are you still doing it? Because I won't hang out with you.
Right.
I like that level of accountability.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think a lot of people, and it's why I wrote the book, How to Make Today's Ceiling Tomorrow's Floor. I didn't realize I'd put ceilings on my head. Mm-hmm. I thought just starting the business made me a superhero.
Right. Yeah.
And I knew how hard I worked, but like you, I was just like, bad behaviors that I didn't know were bad behaviors were eating me alive.
Right. From the inside.
Not communicating with that employee because I don't want to cause a rift.
Right.
And I just need him to show up and go do the job.
Sure.
when he's the cancer that's making my 2 A players over here go, Whitehead's a joke.
Yep.
He's just a rich kid, blah, whatever. They used to say things like that. Cleaning your shit up, writing some goals down, and then number one, not becoming distracted, but number two, part of not becoming distracted is those people that want to distract you get pushed to the wayside very, very quickly.
I've cut a lot of people out of my life in the last 18 months.
How's that feel?
A lot. Good. So, I mean, it's sad for some of them, family. Right?
Sure.
But, you know, hey, if there's a place for them later, then they'll
and there's no way to explain it to them.
Right.
So that's what I found out too. Like, hey, it'd be great to see you.
I don't hate you. I'm just not going to be around you.
Right.
It's not, you know, I don't see the positive benefit of hanging around somebody who does not have the same outlook on life that I do. And, you know, if we want to sit around and complain and talk shit and things like that, that's cool. You can do that. I'm just not going to participate. I'm going to leave. Or,
you got things you want to do.
Or if I'm constantly anxious because all we're going to do is just, no, let's focus on some cool shit. Let's focus on building. Let's focus on growth and personal development and things like that, as opposed to just same old stuff. I mean, it's small town syndrome. So, but
you come from a small town?
I do.
In South Carolina?
No, in Pennsylvania.
Okay, because it's like you don't have the accent.
Right. Right.
So you went to college?
I did.
Where'd you go?
University of South Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
How'd you end up in South Carolina?
North Carolina. But it was I moved up from. So I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Went to undergrad for a little bit in Erie, Pennsylvania, so up on the lake.
Yep.
And then went down to Florida. Took a little bit of time off. Went to Florida to just kind of push reset, I suppose. So now they're partying a lot. Started my business, and then I decided to go back and finish in 2010. So I went to USF, got my degree, and then moved up to Charlotte in 2012.
Oh, you were in Charlotte?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Charleston.
No.
Okay.
Love Charleston, but
okay.
But no, that's a little too small for me. Great to visit. Great food.
I that whole area is like Charleston.
Yeah.
It feels like it's slow.
Yeah.
And being a fast person,
right?
Like it's
it's incredibly slow.
Oh, it feels so good. Yeah. But doing business there,
it's good to just doing business there. I don't think I could do it because we're like that Northeast. Let's go. Next. And they're down there. Well, you know,
right?
Why don't you have a seat? Come on in.
Let's have a long conversation.
Let's have some tea. Yeah.
Am I going to get your business or not? We'll talk about that too.
Yeah. Let's get you. You want some sweet tea?
So what's on the horizon? What's the next thing? I'll just close this thing down. I want to bring you back sometime too. Once you get a little bit more established in the Northeast here.
Yeah. People onboard their customers really shitty. Their onboarding experiences, customer journey, I think that's really overlooked. I think that for me at some point, and then this is not going to be anytime soon, but my next project, I believe, is I'm going to want to consult with larger companies. I'll give you an example. So I bought this, I'll say it, but because I don't want to give them any free fucking advertising, but it's this thing called the Stepper.
Okay.
And if you'll probably start getting retargeted for it now, but it's a compact Stairmaster at your house.
Yeah.
Right. It's got half steps. So all you need is 8 feet clearance, right? Where you usually 10, 11 feet, whatever. 8 feet clearance. It's got the big, the Peloton screen on it. So it's awesome. And you can sit there and you can bang out an hour on the Stairmaster. You don't even realize that you've done it. And that's like 1,000 calories, right? So I ordered it. It was $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They bring it to my house and set it up. It doesn't work. Right. And one of the things is broken. It has been an absolute fucking nightmare for these people. And for me, if I'm spending premium money, I want premium service. But I'm also the one, I will come back and buy more shit from you. If it's like, you're my guy. Like I've got a guy for everything. And it's because the guy, whether they're cheapest, more expensive, whatever, it doesn't matter. They've treated me right and the transaction is easy and they're there whenever I need them. So guess what? When I need something so I got a jewelry guy, right? So when I want to buy a pair of earrings, right, for for her, or bracelet, necklace, whatever, I got a guy, CJ. I just text him, hey CJ, I need something, right? He's like, something like this. Here's a quote. Yep, boom, you got my credit card on file. Go ahead and send it to me. It's like that, right? But there are so many companies out there that I don't know what's going on with their onboarding process is horrific. And I don't think that the people that sit up at the top
are aware.
Are aware. because if they were, and they don't, and they still don't, and they still let the departments act like that way, it's a gross negligence, for the shareholders, everything like that. But I guarantee you that they have no idea how bad, because again, all business should be about recurring, right? Whether you can automatically set it up to bill or the next time they need something. And if you are blah, how was working with Chris Whitehead? It was okay, right? Right. I would rather have no, fuck that guy, he's an asshole, right? Or our first core value in the company is wow. I want a wow experience every single time. How's it working with Chris? It was awesome. I sat down, we talked about it, we went through, he gave me exactly what he told me he was going to, he did it with me, he even over delivered, right? As opposed to like, yeah, it was okay. Like, because then it was okay, you're not going to get business. Like somebody's like, oh, I don't want to work with Chris because he's not wow. But if you say, yeah, I work with Chris and it was a wow experience, right? Just paraphrasing, whatever. You're not going to look anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Give me his number.
Mm-hmm.
Call him right now. If you like him, I like him.
Mm-hmm.
And so going beyond with the service and the onboarding and the customer journey, I just think, I don't know what happened to it, but there's a lot of companies who do it really well. There's a lot of companies who don't do it well at all.
God, you were talking about this 3 years ago.
Yeah, I hate it. But the only problem is, and here's the thing, I don't know how to set up as a recurring revenue. I only see a one and done. You come in, you consult, you teach them, you show them the blueprint, and you leave.
So it doesn't fit your model?
It doesn't fit my model. But I'll figure out a way to make it work.
Oh, I can talk to you about that. I think there are a lot of ways, especially with what you already know how to do.
Yeah.
You can do it low cost and have it just, hey man, people forget what they don't constantly train.
Sure.
Has been my experience.
Yeah.
Even setting up SOPs for my employees, like I have them set them up.
Yeah.
And then I review them.
Sure. Yeah.
And the ones that set them up stop following what they set up.
Right.
So you have to inspect what you expect, kind of thing. So I could see that be recurring.
Can I give you a tip on that? Yeah. So for our KPIs and I call them playbooks, right? So when I hire somebody or somebody new comes on and we need them to run the bank reconciliation, I'm just going to give a task. I will show them how to do it the first time, recording the screen and talking while I'm doing it. I send them the file and I say, please create a checklist for me and send a standard SOP, standard operating procedure for people who don't know. But send me an SOP and send it back with any questions that you have. I then review that, and if I like it, it tells me that they're on the same page, and say, okay, go ahead and create a document. But where most people forget, and this is where accountability comes in, is you need a fucking checklist on the back of it. So now the person who designed that and is in charge of implementing that and operating that on a daily basis, there's the accountability. Without the checklist, no accountability. So if something goes sideways and you go back and you look at it, everybody's, I don't know, I'm not sure. But hold on, who owns the checklist? Where's it at?
Yeah.
And then, well, it was my checklist. Well, why isn't it checked? Well, I don't know. Okay, so now this is a coaching moment, right? And let's go ahead and take that back. And so once I found when we implemented, and we don't check them all the time, but it's like, hey, you check the list? Yeah. Okay. Or no. Okay, I'm going to go back and do it. Cool. And that's how you can make sure that your standards are being followed and upheld with just a little check. That's what everybody forgets. So they're like, oh, I got the SOP. It's great. I'm like, cool. Well, who's following it? Well, not a lot of people do. Cool. Checklist. Problem solved.
What do you think your greatest superpower is?
I don't know. Talking fast, making shit up on the fly, I guess. That's one of them.
That's what made you a great sales guy.
Yeah.
But what do you think your greatest skill set is? I don't think that's it.
No, I don't know. I don't know, man. I've been learning so much about myself lately. I surprise myself at times. I find I'm a problem solver. I think that's probably my greatest. I like to see.
Do you immediately, like, no matter what the situation is, if there's an issue, you start cranking in your head about how even if you're not being asked, like you're sitting in the background, you'll start figuring it out.
If I'm watching at a restaurant or something like that, I'm like, hey, here's how I would do. And I'm not always right, but it's Yeah.
So that you get better.
Yeah. Things tend to slow down. You said that I think when you took Adderall, things slow down. What's weird, and I've noticed this recently, there's been a couple instances that have happened to me where over the years where like it was like perilous, like where somebody could have been very badly injured. And I've noticed that whenever things speed up like that, a lot of people, they start going, my mind actually slows down whenever that, I was in the car about 2 weeks ago and no, maybe it was 2 months. I don't know. It's a while ago. And it was a just a very bad situation was about to happen, and somebody was coming into my lane here, and there was another one coming in here, and I'm sitting there going, "We're going to get an accident going 80 miles an hour on the highway." But I was able to just, I don't know what it was. I was able to check all my mirrors, slow everything down. I found the way out of it, and and then the person who was in the car with me was like, "Holy shit! Like, what happened there?" I was like, "I don't know. We got out though, right?" And then the whole thing, but it was. There's been a lot of situations like that. We got into a whitewater rafting accident one time, and I was able to grab a couple people but again, it just, when things are speeding up like that, I tend to slow down.
Did you have trauma growing up?
Well, my girlfriend is a therapist, and she thinks I did. So
I think you did too.
I think it was just normal.
So so I thought mine was normal too, and my parents are still alive, so zero disrespect.
Sure, yeah.
But I saw a lot of emotional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I asked is, so I perform the exact same way you do in very high stress situations. Like, not always, a few times I've gotten the ever living shit knocked out of me.
Right.
But I was actually very surprised by it because for the most part, when I sense massive danger, it's almost like the heartbeat slows down.
Yeah.
The vision gets very, very particular. I'm aware of movement, all sorts of things. And then how did you do that jujitsu move? And it's like, no friggin' idea.
Just happened.
Yeah. But I was just curious.
What do you think my superpower is?
I think you have a extremely high level of empathy.
Interesting. Okay.
I think you care about people a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Actually, at least that's my opinion.
I agree with that. I never thought nobody's ever told me that before, but I do. I believe it. I may not always act like it, but I do.
I know that was what getting to know you when we first started talking. I was like, this guy actually goes above and beyond for other people, and he doesn't display it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking when I first met you.
Not a big fan of showboats. Like, a lot of times, like where, like one of the big, and this drives me fucking crazy. And this is a trend or was a trend, the big tip dinners. Oh, yeah. Right. Look, I learned something from a guy that we don't have to say his name, Mike Claudio. Right. Mm-hmm. And he does something that he doesn't tell anybody about that I love. He does $100 tips, right? He'll go to a diner and get something, leave $100 tip, right? Mm-hmm. You never know who's like, but he doesn't tell anybody about it. Right. Like, I only know about it because we were at like a diner. I don't know, sometime in time. I was like, "What the fuck are you leaving $100 for?" He's like, "I don't know. That's what I do." And I was like, "Interesting." So, do I do that all the time? No, but I try to. But I don't tell anybody about it. I'm not getting 50 people together and you got your fucking cameras out. While, granted, I agree with the premise. I think it's really cool that that you're able to. And most of the time, a lot of these people, when they go to these restaurants, they end up getting it given to the people who deserve it the most, who need it. Like, you're, oh my God, I was going to lose my house with my kid, something like that. Right. Awesome. Great. But you don't need to
marketing stunt.
It's clout. I don't want to see clout chasers. That's what it is. Like, maybe if you want to record it, ask her permission before you post it, because they never do that shit. It just gets posted. And I know for me, I'm a proud person. If somebody did that for me, I would be greatly appreciative, but I would also be mortified by it. Right. And, so that's where I think not a lot of people, I think some people do it for the wrong reasons, right? Whereas opposed to if you're going to give, you don't need to tell anybody about it.
One of the coolest things up here is Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. Now, I'm a Starbucks dude.
Yeah, I'm not a big coffee fan for them. I think it tastes like water. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to get the dark.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are a lot of them up here. So when you need a coffee, right. It's where you go grab it.
Yeah, Dunks.
The most fun habit that I've experienced at Dunkin' Donuts is you'll go up to the window, the person in front of you just paid for your coffee.
Yeah, that's cool. The pay it forward thing, right?
And so, cool.
Right.
I'm going to pay for the person behind me. And I've seen that. I've been a part of it. I've seen, there is no better feeling on earth to realize that because you get the bill and it's like $28 and you're like, fuck, I thought I was buying a cup of coffee. Right. But you're like, what are they going to think when they're buying coffee for their whole office or something that's just paid for?
Right.
And it's like, that is fun, and it's fun to do it secretive. Yeah. I get the other thing too, because I've been a part of it. I've seen it where it's worked out really well and the person boo-hoos, and then I've seen it where the guy was like, thanks.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, that was $1,500, dude.
So like the guy at like Ruth's Chris. Yeah. He makes that, cool, man. He goes, I got a fucking 10 top in the back. I got $1,500 off it. All right, high fives, right? Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. But that's what I think. That's what I think your superpower is, and I think you coming into a season of clarity and being bold enough because I've been through it, being bold enough to not let a past decision hold you down. It's exhilarating, it's scary, and at the same time, I think a lot of clarity comes from it as you just get rid of the emotional part of it,
right?
Which that takes its own time, and you start going. I mean, you're somebody that takes the bull by the horns and just goes and does things.
Try to, at least.
Yeah. So like now that things are even better for you, trajectory's even higher. You have more money than you probably ever had in your life. And so you have more opportunity to do cool things.
Yeah.
That's a really cool position to be in. It's where a lot of people want to be, but I don't think they're willing to discipline themselves or to find, you found something that you knew if you stuck with it was going to pay off.
Right.
It's almost like the insurance guys.
Yeah.
Right. The first 2 years is
horrible.
Yeah.
I got my first check. I remember because I worked for another company and I got fired because I found out it was a publicly traded company with door to door. Right. And that's how I learned how to cut my teeth door to door. And they just paid us $100 a deal. And if you sold a machine, another $100, right? So we figured out how to game that system. And but then I was talking to one of my buddies who's one of my mentors in New York. He's like, your residual must be huge. I was like, what's a residual? And he's like, he told me I would say I don't know, number 2, number 3 sales rep in the country for this company. And I mean, I was just killing it. It took me a long time to figure it out, but one day it clicked and I was like, holy shit, I'm never coming back from this. Never looking back. So I came in, I talked to the bosses, and I was like, hi, so I have a couple hundred accounts with you guys, and you've done very well for me. Thank you. But I would like my residual income now. And I was fired immediately. And,
that's the way that works.
It was one of those, it was a boiler room sales shop, basically, right? And they knew that if they kept me, I was going back into that room. I was going to poison that well. And so, it was one of the ones, they had 50 or 60 sales reps there. And I bet if I would have walked in there, everybody would have walked out. So anyway, regardless, so I went and started my own at that point, and I got my residual income, which I think my first check took 90 days to get to me. It was an actual check.
Yeah.
And I remember getting it in the mail, and I, got it from the mailbox. I was living at my girlfriend's place at the time, right? And so because I didn't have any money, so I wasn't paying rent. She was very kind. And I remember I was sitting in my Chevy Blazer. I don't know, it was an old piece of shit thing. And I opened it up. It was like one of those, Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Where he opens up the check.
Yeah.
Where he opens, and it's a Jelly of the Month Club. It was like, I don't know what I was expecting, but it was like $18 and something. And I was like, I have been going door to door for 10 hours a day for the last 3 months.
For $18.
$18. And I remember I was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then I was just like, it was just the waterworks started at that point. And I was like, and then, obviously it got better. And then now it's, we're going to hopefully see that, the fruit, be able to enjoy some of that fruit here in the next, month or two. But, yeah, that sucked coming from something like that. But I really do think it makes you stronger.
Dude, so number one, I want to bring you back on after you sell this, because then we can start talking to people about how to set up a business to exit.
Yeah.
I think it's important. But so before I worked at Radio Shack, I worked for Electrolux.
Okay.
Vacuum cleaners.
Vacuum cleaners, yeah.
I made it 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up calling Dad, and I was crying. And I was like, I can't do this, man. It's like, I got to turn this vacuum upside down, and I got to go through this whole charade. Then these people pay $9, and the whole deal is we'll come clean your carpet for $9. So people would have all their furniture moved out of the way, and they were college kids. There's no way they're buying this $1,000 vacuum, And the long and the short of the straw that broke the camel's back. So I go to this guy's house. I do the whole deal where I'm like, and he goes, I have a rainbow. I'm like, cool. All right. So what I want to do is I want to vacuum the square with your rainbow vacuum. And then I want to take a white cloth and put it over top of where the suction is on Electrolux,
Right.
and you're, long story short, you're going to see some dirt
Right.
with it. Your vacuum's not cleaning up. Now, the other thing I had to do is after I vacuumed with his vacuum, I had to turn it upside down so it looked like a dead animal. This was all the psychology, right?
Okay.
So I go through this whole song and dance and I do it, and I pull the cloth out and it has dirt on it.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, okay. He says, can we do that in reverse? I was like, absolutely. I'm 20 years old. I believe in this company and this $1 million. That's how we were promoting it. Would you like to see $1 million vacuum?
Right.
So I do it with the Electrolux, and then I put the cloth into the rainbow vacuum and I do it, and we pull the cloth. It's dirtier than with the Electrolux. And he goes, it's okay. I said, man, I'm so sorry. Like, this is how they teach us to do this. I really thought, because it's okay. By the way, I'm in a multi-level marketing business called Something 360 Telecom. They just decentralized. Dude, I just started crying. I'm like, I hate this job, man. I'm not making any money.
You became your therapist.
Yeah. So I remember calling Dad, and he said, just give them all their equipment back, Chris, and go get a job. And so I did. I went to Radio Shack, and I became the #1 salesman in the Eastern region, which is not hard to do because I was a sales guy, not a digit head. And a lot of people that work at Radio Shack, they like transistors and ham radios and stuff.
Right. You can talk to people. Yeah.
Dude, I figured out that if I had more transactions, I would run into a cell phone, which we sold spiffs. You made $10 a cell phone you sold. I would sell a computer. So just by hustling, I didn't have to be a better salesperson.
Law of averages.
Yeah. Numbers work out.
Yeah.
None of these guys figured it out.
Right.
But no matter how hard I worked, I couldn't make more than $25,000 a year.
Right.
7 days a week, 5 days a week, 8 hours. None of it mattered. They wouldn't let me go outside. So I ended up going to North Carolina and living there because my wife was from there. Worked at Winston-Salem, and then got my first management job, and started working 100 hours a week. And I was like, I'm looking up the line. They're making $250, $300 a year, but they're like the plastic Jesus smile and a suit on 7 days a week. And I'm like,
no thanks.
That's not me, dude. Yeah. And I was in Amway at the time.
Okay.
And there was this couple making $2,500 a month. They were bankers, but now they clean houses for a living, new construction.
Yeah.
And I was like, bitch, I could do that. Mm-hmm. And so I quit my job and told my wife, I said, I'm quitting my job. She goes, just stay half time so you can keep the insurance. It's too late. I already quit.
Yeah, I did that.
See, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I'm going to start a remodeling company. Had you ever built anything? No, nothing.
We'll figure it out.
I helped Dad build a deck once.
Jump out of the plane, learn how to fly.
And that's all I've done ever since, man. Yeah. And sometimes it's been very pleasurable, and sometimes it's been like, what choice have I made? But again, surrounding myself with people that get it, it's almost like you don't have to. It's like the whole money thing that you're talking about. You don't really have to talk about it too much if you have it.
Right. Those people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Those that know, and those that don't need to, because you're just putting a target on your back. Right. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, is do what you're doing. You just help people, whether they're inside or outside of your company. Yep. Dude, it's good having you.
Great having you.
Will you come back when do some of this again?
Yeah, it's great. I had a great time.
Good to see you, bro.
Thanks, Chris. Good to see you as well.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
Hey, friend. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to catch future casts. If you really enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it so others can benefit from it as well. I'll see you in the trenches.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.